a land of vast rivers and trees, the Kongo Empire thrived. The people were proud, and their king, Nzinga, was a wise and brave leader. He ruled from the great city of Mbaza, Kongo, where everyone respected him. But trouble was brewing, and dark clouds were gathering over the empire. Nzinga loved his people and wanted to keep them safe. One day, a messenger ran into the palace, breathless and frightened. King Nzinga, foreign ships are approaching our shores, he shouted. The king's heart sank. These ships belonged to traders who often brought goods but also wanted to take the land and the people. Nzinga knew he had to act quickly. He called for his trusted advisor, a wise elder named Carlo. We must prepare our warriors, Nzinga said. If these traders come to take our land, we must protect it. Carlo nodded, knowing that war could be near. Together, they gathered the bravest warriors in the empire, each one ready to defend their home. As night fell, the village fires flickered and the warriors sharpened their spears. Nzinga felt the weight of his people's hopes on his shoulders. He remembered the stories his father told him about their ancestors who fought for freedom. He wanted to be like them, strong and fearless. The next morning, the sky was filled with sound of drums as the foreign ships reached the shore. The traders stepped off their boats, looking around with greedy eyes. Nzinga stood tall at the edge of the water, his heart racing. Who dares to come to Kongo? He shouted. A tall man with a loud voice replied, We come for trade, but we will take what we need if you do not cooperate. The warriors behind Nzinga gripped their weapons tighter. Tension filled the air like a thunderstorm about to break. Nzinga raised his hand. We will trade, but only if you respect our land and our people. The traders laughed, thinking they could easily overpower the Kongo warriors, but Nzinga's spirit was unbreakable. As days turned into weeks, the foreign traders began to show their true colors. They started taking more than just trade goods. They wanted to capture people for their work. Nzinga's heart ached as he saw his people being taken away. He felt anger building inside him, but he knew he had to remain calm for his people's sake. One night, Nzinga held a secret meeting with his warriors and elders. We cannot allow this to continue, he said passionately. We must fight for our freedom. The warriors cheered, their voices echoing through the night. But there was one among them, a warrior named Juma, who was afraid. What if we lose? What if we are defeated? He asked, his voice shaking. Mzinga looked at him, understanding his fear. We fight not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come. We must be brave, Juma. The next day, Mzinga and his warriors marched towards the foreign camp. The sun was bright, but the tension in the air felt heavy. They prepared for battle, knowing that their lives depended on it. As they approached, the traders noticed them and began to prepare their weapons. The battle was fierce. Nzinga fought valiantly, his heart filled with determination. But the traders were many, and the warriors of Kongo began to feel tired. During the battle, Nzinga spotted Juma struggling with fear. He called out, Juma, remember why we fight. With those words, Juma felt a spark of courage ignite within him. He stood tall and charged forward with a fierce yell. But just when it seemed like the tide would turn in favor of the Kongo warriors, a loud horn sounded from the enemy camp. Most ships were arriving. They were outnumbered. Nzinga knew they had to retreat and regroup. Fall back, he shouted. The warriors, though tired, obeyed. They ran through the forest, their hearts heavy with worry for their families left behind. Back in Mbanza, Congo, Nzinga sat with Carlo, his face filled with sorrow. What will we do now? He asked. Carlo placed a hand on his shoulder. We will gather more allies. We cannot fight alone. Nzinga agreed and sent messengers to nearby villages asking for help. Days passed and slowly the warriors began to arrive, joining their cause. Nzinga felt hope again, but also knew the danger was not over. Then one night, while Nzinga was resting, a young girl named Amina came to his tent. She looked scared but determined. King Nzinga, I overheard the traders. They plan to attack again at dawn. She whispered urgently. Nzinga felt his heart race. They had to prepare. Nzinga gathered his warriors. Quickly, we will surprise them, he declared. The warriors, filled with adrenaline, nodded and set to work. They crafted traps and planned their strategy under the light of the stars. As dawn broke, the Congo warriors took their positions. The traders, unaware of the surprise waiting for them, marched forward with confidence. The moment they stepped into the traps, the Congo warriors sprang into action. The battle was chaotic, filled with shouts and the clash of weapons. Nzinga fought fearlessly, remembering every face of his family. Juma fought beside him, now filled with bravery. Together, they pushed against the shoulders, driving them back. But just when victory seemed close, the leader of the traders stepped forward, a massive man named Biko. He was fierce and strong. He challenged Nzinga to single combat. The warriors paused, knowing this would decide the fate of Congo. Nzinga stepped forward, heart pounding. The two men circled each other, eyes locked. With a loud roar, they clashed their weapons, sparking against each other. The warriors watched, holding their breath as the fight raged on. After a fierce struggle, Nzinga found an opening and struck Biko down. The traders, seeing their leader defeated, fled in fear. The Kongo warriors cheered, their voices rising in triumph. Nzinga, though weary, felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had won the battle, but he knew the fight for their land was not over. He looked at his people, proud and strong. They were ready for whatever came next. Days turned into weeks as the Kongo people rebuilt their homes and healed their wounds. Nzinga knew they had to start alert. News spread that the traders were gathering again, planning a larger attack. One day, as they prepared for a gathering to celebrate their unity, a messenger arrived, breathless and urgent. King Nzinga, the traders have returned, but this time they bring a large army led by King Nuru. A wave of unease swept over the gathered crowd. Nzinga felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. We will not back down. We have faced them before, and we will face them again, he said firmly. As the sun set, the warriors prepared for battle once more. They gathered their weapons, reminding themselves of their strength and unity. Nzinga felt a surge of determination, knowing that they were not alone. When the day of the battle arrived, the Kongo coalition stood united, a formidable force, ready to defend their land. The sound of drums echoed through the air, a rallying call for their people. As the traders approached, Nzinga led his warriors forward. They held their ground, swords gleaming in the sunlight, ready to protect their home. The moment of confrontation felt electric, the air thick with anticipation. But the two sides met. The clash of swords rang out, a fierce battle that echoed across the land. Nzinga fought valiantly, moving through the chaos side by side with Juma. Each strike was filled with purpose, fueled by their love for their people. But the traders had come prepared. King Nuru was fierce, and his soldiers fought with a determination that mirrored Nzinga's own. The battle raged on, the tide shifting back and forth, with both sides refusing to yield. Just when the Kongo warriors began to feel overwhelmed, Nzinga spotted an opening. Mozi, Juma, follow me, he shouted, leading them towards King Nuru. As they charged, they fought through the thick of the battle, each step fueled by their desire to protect their home. Finally, they reached Nuru, who was surrounded by his guards, fighting fiercely. Nzinga stepped forward, determination etched on his face. This ends now, Nuru. Yield and let our people live in peace. Nuru's eyes burnt with anger, but he could see the unity of the Kongo warriors. You think you can defeat me again? He growled. Zinga tightened his grip on his sword together. We are unstoppable. Yield and we can find a way to coexist. With a sudden surge of energy, the Kongo warriors rallied behind Nzinga. Juma fought with unwavering resolve, pushing back against the enemy. Just as the battle seemed to reach its peak, Nuru hesitated. Nuru hesitated. For a brief moment, he looked around, seeing his own warriors weary and uncertain. The realization hit him. Their fight was not just against the Kongo, but a fight against unity and strength. I yield, Nuru finally shouted, raising his weapon in surrender. The battlefield felt silent. Nzinga stood tall, heart pounding. We have fought fiercely, but let us not forget what this battle is truly about, he said. We are stronger united than divided. Let us find peace and build a future together. The Kongo warriors erupted in cheers. The Kongo warriors erupted in cheers, their victory palpable. Slowly, the tension in the air eased as Nuru and his remaining warriors lowered their weapons. In the days that followed, Nzinga and Nuru met to discuss terms of peace. They realized that their people had suffered enough. With Kalu at their sides, they forged a new alliance, one built on understanding and cooperation. Together, they celebrated the new dawn of unity, bringing together their tribes to share in the festivities. The spirit of collaboration filled the air, replacing fear with hope. Nzinga looked around at the smiling faces, his heart swelling with pride. He had led his people through darkness, but now they stood on the brink of a brighter future. As he took Moses' hand and shared a joyful moment with his people, he knew that their journey was far from over. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united as one. In the end, Nzinga understood that the true strength of a leader lies not just in victories, but in the bonds they forge with their people. And as the sun set over the Congo, he felt the warmth of hope, knowing that their legacy would endure for generations to come.